All right, our next presenter, the man, Coach Terrance Banks, Greene County, the head football coach, Greene County in Georgia. Coach, thanks for joining us, and we are at your disposal here. Have at it.
I, I don't know if I'm the man, but I'll talk. One thing that I want to talk about, guys, that was to me that is different is you've heard the first two guys, and that's been great. You've had Coach Timberland from offensive line, offensive coordinator perspective. You've heard Coach Andrew talk about his practice schedule from a defensive coordinator perspective. What I want to talk about is more like practice culture. The things you can do at practice that enhances your results and enforces what you really want your kids to do. And so I'm going to take it from that perspective, opposed to, hey, here's my practice schedule. Here's some of the things that we do to get the best out of our kids. And it don't matter if you're offense or defense, it'll be a little bit of both in there. What I'll do is, I know guys are going to watch the video, and I know Coach will give you our contact information. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way now. So you watch the video, you can go back to the beginning and find it. As Coach just said, I'm now the head football coach at Greene County High School, assistant athletic director. My cell phone is there, my email is there, and my Twitter account. If you know anything about me, probably the easiest way to get in touch with me is Twitter, but do answer my email for long conversations. And if I got 5 minutes, I will talk your ear off. So I'm not one of them guys to give you a quick answer. If I got time, I'll talk a whole bunch. And I'm not sure if there's anything that you really need to be knowing, but I will talk a whole bunch. So, Coach said something with Coach Andrew. So here's why I think what we're talking about is unique. I've had the opportunity now to be a head coach at 4 different schools. So, and I think what's unique about what I'm giving you guys is, again, this is something that can be used for any size school, as Coach said. So he kind of broke that down. Newton High School, where I was at the longest, is a 7A school. We're talking 2,500 kids in the building, 2,600 kids in the building. School is 80% African American, which means a large population of kids play football. When I got to Newton, 9 through 12 was probably about 70, 75 kids. Probably in my heyday, I had about 100 to 105 kids, 9 through 12. So we had ninth grade, JV, varsity. So of course, a bunch of things when you got those numbers when we had it high. Tri-Cities was a 5A school. Before I got to Tri-Cities the year I was there, they were kind of known as the Dirty 30. And what that meant was they were going to have 30 kids. Yeah, there was a 5A school. Football had been down. They were going to have a dedicated 30 kids. We did get those numbers up to about 55, but, that year and new head coaches kind of continued it. But for the most part, he can rely on that dirty 30, as they call it. Middle Creek High School is also a 7A school in the state of Georgia, about 2,700 kids in the building. Middle Creek is unique, 75% Hispanic. In my 3 years at Middle Creek, this one was unique. My first year, because of COVID, and we couldn't get in touch with the kids, like I say, in the Hispanic transient population, we might have had 13 ninth graders. Wasn't a huge deal because we had 27 seniors. So that's probably the biggest senior class I've ever seen in my life. 27 seniors on one team. Followed it up to the next year at Middle Creek, we had 8 seniors, but we had 35 freshmen. So these are the things that we had to do to teach kids how to practice and get them to go hard, because again, you went from having 27 seniors to having 8 and 13 to 35 freshmen. So it was a lot of teaching. Greene County is a single A school. There are 435 kids in the building. So, what you do there is going to be different practice-wise, hitting-wise, those things, why they want to get into it. But the cultural pieces to kind of drive what we want, they're the same at every school. So I'm not going to bore you coaches talking about it, because Parker, most of you guys have heard Brian Tyler, Randy Jackson. They talk about culture, core values. And we all get what culture is, right? It's what you tolerate in your program. and what you get from your kids. What you tolerate, what you get, right? Their behavior and what you believe. And so, because to make it simple for me, guys, I can't do the core values every day. I can't do X, Y, and Z. I came up with three things that meant the most to me in my program. And so my motto is kind of pay the fee. And those three things are, for me, are finish, energy, and effort. You can go do the 5 core values if you want to. My thing is, whatever it is in your program, whether it be on, and if you're office coordinator watching this, you can have 3 things you believe in and you want to see in that offense that's relatable to what the head coach wants. Same thing for defense. Same thing for strength and conditioning. For me, like I said, it was finish, energy, and effort. And so everything we do falls back to one of those 3 categories. So when you look at that, then how do you judge that and how do you get that from practice? That's always the big question, right? And I kind of got what I call the definitions of it, because I had to define it to know what I was looking for. So the finish means to bring something to an end or to a completion. So how are we going to finish? How are we going to end what we're doing? Energy, the ability to be active. And there's the kind of common thing here, you got to get these guys to be active and have energy in practice. Because these kids are not like we were, and they're used to quick, fast experience. And then, of course, effort, which is real stuff, hard work. And I'm going to talk about it because I believe that effort can be coached. So my mentor, the guy that I worked for the longest, that kind of taught me how to be a head coach, worked for a guy named won over 100 games, great coach, builder of program. And I worked with him at Duluth High School. He had this sign on the wall, and this sign, you took a picture of it. It's been over 10 years, and once a year it pops up on his timeline and my timeline and some other coaches that are head coaches now on his staff. It's like 4 of us that are current head coaches that were with him at Duluth. And let me tell you guys something about staff and getting back to practice. There are 5 guys that became the head coach from his staff at Duluth, and I know Coach Parker talks about it all the time, getting the right guys. Guys, we went 4-6 3 years in a row, but we learned so much from each other that 5 guys off a 4-6 staff for 3 years in a row has at one point been the head football coach. But anyway, talent wins 7 games, discipline usually wins 8 to 9 games, and then teaching your kids how to be leaders and teaching them this is our culture. And then this is what we want to have from the culture. This is how we get, the best out of them. And that's important. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about tonight. How do we get that practice culture where our kids can be the leaders and our kids know what to expect? Because if the most talented team always won state, and they do every now and then, most of us could determine the state championships in our state right now, and we don't even have to worry about playing the season. So we talked about setting a standard, and I'm going to show some pictures kind of both. At Newton, we had a standard. We called it the low policy. But the right and wrong is different. It was our standard. We did it, and that's what we held to. And you find things that you can judge and do well for them. So we had our standards at Meadow Creek and at Tri-Cities and at Green, and we'll talk about those. And basically, it's what can carry over and how will they be judged. Coach Andrews kind of talked about it, separating yourself from the rest. And so, here are my experiences. So at Newton, I'm going to start with the morning practice. At Newton, we couldn't, much like Coach Andrews said, we couldn't get all our kids in weight training. As a matter of fact, here's what's crazy. Newton was 7A school, as I told you, 2,500 kids in the building. We had, when I first got to Newton, I had to teach math my first year because there were no PE spots available. As a matter of fact, no PE teacher in that 7A high school coached football. And 3 of them did not coach a sport. So we couldn't get all our kids in weight training. I couldn't run my own weight room. I couldn't get another coach to run my weight room. And so, it evolved. We ended up getting assistant athletic director to be able to do weight training. We couldn't get all our kids. I ended up getting a coach and then 2 coaches in the weight. But what we did was we came the morning workouts. At Newton during the season, we were going to work out on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the morning from 6 to 7:15. And it kind of became our badge of honor. And, that's what we did. We had to do the morning workouts, and that was important to us. And so that was our edge, how we separated ourselves. As Coach Andrew kind of said, we went to No Sweat Wednesdays. We did it at Meadow Creek. I did it at Tri-City. And it was just a good way of getting our kids that downtime, that fresh. We was able to do tutorials. We was able to do those things that helped us get to where we needed to be. And then practice rewards. Practice rewards was big for us, and how we rewarded our kids at practice. And I want to take time to talk about that. All right, I'm sorry about that. I don't know where was I at. Let me see what you do. There we go. All right, so one of the models we had was finish. So how we determined finish for us was we wanted to finish in life. Inside the building, on the field, it would define them as husbands and fathers. So then the big thing came to how we grade finish. So this picture here is not mine. It was a picture, it was a template that was sent to me from, I think, Bobby Acosta, who works with Nova Zone, End Zone. He sent me this picture about one of the ways that Noel taught him how to grade finish. And so we don't use all of the details, but we use the understanding that I had with my coaches to finish. So like if you look at the running back, the rule is you got to take 5 hard steps on the face. If you get the ball, it's a 20-yard rule, and you have to burst to the ball and somebody else catches it, and you got to look for work. So what does that look like? The positive. Ball was caught on the other side of the field, and the running back first towards the ball carrier, you're looking for a block. After he faced inside zone, it's a quick fake without the ball 5 yards. The negative is there's no 20-yard burst after a run. The ball caught and he's a watcher or a walker. And basically that's a low policy. So he goes through this and everything for finish is defined. There's no question. We tell our kids. So really for us at practice is really the 3 to 5 yard rule. If I run it back, get the ball, and he breaks through after getting tagged off, if he don't hit an extra 5 yards, we're gonna say something to him. Because you want your guys to finish and explode in game and play to the echo of that whistle, then you gotta practice that. And so we're big on guarding. We come up with a rule, we come up with the positive, we come up with a negative as the example, and then we grade them. That's the stuff that I want my coaches grading our kids for. You can always come back and teach them the corners, but you got to be able to talk about those things, positive and negative. I mean, the same thing with quarterbacks. How many of us zone read teams and the quarterback hand the ball off and you watch, and you wonder why the end won't squeeze? Well, I mean, the quarterback is carrying out face. He knows the quarterback don't have the ball. That's why he's able to fall back in. So we grade finish in everything we do, and we harp on that is carry out the faith. Hey, did you sprint downfield? And here's one thing, guys, I like about practice. As Coach Andrew said, whether you're a single A or whether you're a 7A school, you want to get kids reps. Here's what we do. We got to have a 8 to 10 play rule when it comes to getting kids reps. 8 to 10 8 to 10 kids getting reps. So at Newton, you were able to do a lot of team against live bodies on defense, right? Because we had a bunch of kids. At Tri-Cities, we went against bags on offensive money. We might go against bags. Somebody's holding the bag. But here's what we did. If my starting running back gets the ball and he bursts for 20 yards downfield, which is what he's supposed to finish, I get to still a rep with my backup running back. He gets to pop right in and he gets the next rep while the varsity running back comes back and he'll get back in. So the general rule is if you have been in the 3 plays, you go in and get 1 to 2 plays. Then you come back out. So how do we determine that? If your guy touched the ball, you subbed him out. So at small school, if your X receiver is also your backup wide receiver, then cool. He gets 3 reps, he don't touch the ball, his backup comes in for 2 reps, he goes around, gets 2 reps around, and then he goes back to 8. You got to be slower and get some water in, that's fine. But if the X receiver catches a go route, he comes out, the backup X receiver comes in, and he's going to get 1 or 2 reps. So by going to this finish model as well, it helped us guarantee that we would have kids get more reps in practice, which at the end of the day, as Coach said, you're gonna need those young kids eventually, whether it's now or whether it's later. So the biggest thing, if you don't take anything from what we do, and anything from this, guys, I think this is like one of the greatest things that we did, and it was for us, it was effort. And so this is kind of our effort jersey. And to me, effort can be. And so how we do this, guys, at the end of practice, we have a coach call out kids. So I would go through guys, and I would go quarterbacks, I would go um, quarterbacks, running backs, I would go wide receivers, I would go O line, I would go D line, I would go linebackers, I would go DBs. I included special teams. So at the end of every practice, coach gave out who had the best effort. At Meadow Creek, what you see here is guys who are primary defensive guys. They wear red jerseys. Our primary offensive guys wear white jerseys. If you were the effort player of the day, you get to wear that blue jersey, which is in our school color, and as you can see, it has effort on the back. So we had 8 of those jerseys. And guys, it was one of the best things we ever did. And I'm talking about kids with jaw jackets and compete. Coach, I can't believe you gave that kid this doggone DB jersey. You're just trying to make him feel good. You know I'm the best dog out here. And I mean, kids competed for it. For me, it was, can you imagine your starting quarterback not having the blue jersey every day? And we would do stuff to make sure that the starting quarterback did have the blue jersey every day to make them be like, all right, you know what, y'all bear with me. I got to work harder. I'm supposed to be the starting quarterback, etc. So if you don't take one thing from this talk from me, figure out a way to reward your kids for effort. And for us, it was the jersey. Whatever alternative jersey, you can go buy 8 jerseys. If you want to use black shirts, I don't care. That really transformed the efforts that we saw in practice. When we talked about energy, I'm a firm believer. If you guys heard anything about physics, we create energy and we pass it. And so, how does that work, Coach? Because I don't want to be fake. It's not about being fake. It's about getting your kids started and going. At noon, after we did our stretching, the kids would all run and put toes on the line, and I would give instructions, and I would yell out, "It's a great day to be around." And they would go, "Hey!" And then they sprinted in. It was my instruction period. At Meadow Creek, I would start practice by saying, "If you're useless," and our kids would say, "You're useless." I would say, "If you're useless, you're useless." That was telling them to bring energy. I know Coach Andrews talked about it. He was like, "Man, never thought we would do the day that we got music practice." We played music at practice at Meadow Creek and at Tri-Cities and at New. And so Coach I'm saying, you got to streamline it. You just cannot, don't. It has to be for the kids, but also using this opportunities to expose our kids to different things. So like for us at Meadow Creek, on Monday, kids pick hip hop. Now it's gonna be no cursing. We had a coach, he takes care of it. He has like 60 songs before the season to a playlist, and we ain't gonna be out there dropping bad words in practice. So it's gonna be clean, but they got to kind of pick what they want to hear. On Tuesdays, we play college band music. At Newton, depending on your school, at Newton, if I turned around and told the band to shut up, and it was my doing, I would have got booed. Now, if the referee told me I had to tell my band to shut up, that was different. Still would have got booed, but it was pretty much ACC style of Newton in Tri-Cities. You won't really tell the band to shut up. At Meadow Creek, well, I did. At Meadow Creek, I actually did against Burton. I get a flag for band playing. That was on the way to shut up. So I did get a penalty for that. But anyway, we do band music on Tuesday. Wednesdays, we call it White Boy Wednesday because our kids weren't exposed to a lot of stuff, and it was fun, man. Like, we played everything, man. I was out there singing Alan Jackson, Chattahoochee. We played Nirvana, Teen Spirit. We played Green Day, Aerosmith. I mean, you name it, we played it. And then some of the kids got to, love the songs. They knew a little bit. Every time Phil Collins comes on, they think that's the coolest song ever. But then when you got the Eagles coming on, they're like, Coach, who the heck are you playing? So, and then Thursday, coaches kind of rotated and played what we wanted to kind of hear ourselves. Big on energy to get their attention will be, hey, give me 2 claps. Give me 2 claps. And every time they heard that, it was stop, listen pretty much. And if it wasn't in rhythm, we'll keep going. Hey, give me 2 claps. And I mean, those 2 claps got to be, and they got to be in unison. And so that was big for us. And so that's how I got my finish, my energy, and my effort out of the kids as far as, that's concerned. Nothing wrong with things. To me, group names and things to practice, it makes practice fun. It gives you that brotherhood, and it can help when they play. And, we were at the roof, we had black shirts. So if you were a black shirt, I mean, you were offensive starter and the guy that helped us win. We paid them. We actually had our boots club. We had money. If you don't have money, don't get to worry about that kind of stuff. But we had black drop sticks and the kids would wear Thursday at practice. That's it, the black shirt, skull and crossbones with the helmet on it. And medically, we called ourselves Blue Angels. So when we came out to practice, man, we flying around like we the Blue Angels. That dude now watch, he used to throw up an X anytime they make a play. They doing one-on-one, they throw up the X. In the game, they would celebrate with each other by throwing up that X and just looking at each other. It was a way to celebrate without getting a penalty because they were doing to each other, and it wasn't all that jaw-jacking in games. I guess it would be, but in games, it wasn't. On defense, my defense, wherever I've been as a head coach, for example, they had to get 4 turnovers a game. Practice, between 7 on 17. I think you definitely need practicing turnovers, practicing tackling. You can reward turnover chain. We had the Infinity Gauntlet gloves that Mother Creek our kids would put on, and they would snap their finger when they got it. But you can't go from where we want to get turnovers to we just do a circuit, and then we'll hope we get the best result on Friday, then we'll celebrate on Friday. We stuck it in their head. Every day you got to get 4 from practice. So our mindset on defense is attacking. The goal of defense is to get the ball back to offense. That's my defense philosophy in a nutshell. What do you got to do to get the ball back to the offense? Turnovers, sacks, getting them off the field. So, we talked about turnovers. To also save their legs from running all the way downfield, or if they got an interception on the 35, and then your defense runs all the way back to the end zone, and it takes them forever, and then the coach is looking like, all right, you got 15 minutes, I'm not going to go over, and then he got to come back, and he's all tired. We just kept a trash can behind the offense. So anytime that our defense got a turnover, everybody ran to the trash can, and we're dumping. And I think I got that idea from my Justin Gum, who's one of the good coaches up in the Wisconsin area. So for us, I mean, our kids out there doing behind the legs with the football, 360 with the football, Michael Jordan. They throw it to, they got creative. They had great ideas when they got turnovers. They would throw it to the DC and he would pass it back and they would dunk it. But we would celebrate the fact that we got a turnover. And so we did that. Anytime to keep their mind in, they can yell out yard sale, pre-snap. So that's a coach called America's Fire Zone Blitz, and they yell out yard sale, yard sale, yard sale. Okay, I heard you. If you get a turnover, it counts as double. So if you get a turnover, it counts as 2 towards your total. So there just being one that counted as 2. And so that was big, just the mindset for us that we were trying to cultivate with our team. One of the last things I wanted to talk about was, and people say, well, Coach, what the heck does this have to do with practice? And I call it meeting our kids' basic needs. Feed your players if you can. And you can only do one thing, feed your players, and then use the extra food as a motivation tool. Give it out to the kids need it, but use it as motivation. So 2 options. In Tri-Cities, we had a foundation that came in and they said our kids are Mondays and Wednesdays, so it'd be a study hall. We'll do the same thing at Green. And, they eat those nachos, they do study hall for 35 minutes, and then they'll, do some field work for 25 minutes. But, I might do helmet stickers, and then you had great practices. I had extra Gatorades for pills that we had for the boys. We giving them out to drink with it instead of water. At Meadow Creek, one thing that, when I took over from Coach Guerrero that he established was we said our kids let me have 2 flight Tuesdays. They knew at the end of practice that little Caesar was going to pull up with about 20 pieces, man. Everybody was getting 2 slices. So you had a great practice, man. Take this whole box, man. We can go. We had Wendy's Wednesdays. Wendy's will pull up about 65, 70 cheeseburgers that you can get for you at home. You had a great practice, get 2 cheeseburgers. And it was based on the kind of practice and effort you get, and then you can rotate it. Because one of the things you do want to do is we talk about today's football athlete not having the other kids to the sideline and giving them buy-in. Reward those kids. Make them like, hey, man, coach really does know I'm out here working hard, even if he's not good. So for us, it was a situation where food was important. And I think that's pretty much it. It's some other stuff, but I'm stop and take questions first, and then if I got extra time, coach, I go through some stuff if need be. Anybody got questions? Yeah, Coach Brad, I do email me, Coach Brad. I get you this presentation. Like that's easy. Everybody emails me can get this presentation. This I've stolen from everybody, including Coach Parker. So I got it. You can have it. That's how we all get better. Any
That's
other
right.
questions?
Yeah, ask your question, guys. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat, either one. And if we don't have any, coach, keep going. I like, we purposely picked a lot of different topics here, coach, and one of them has got to be the culture at practice. Martin said, "Why did he call White Boy Wednesday?"
He knows why I call it White Boy Wednesday. I'm not paying Coach Frederick any attention. The songs, Coach Frederick, that are done by white artists that African American Hispanic kids may not be familiar with.
You were spreading
Coach
knowledge.
Frederick is a good friend of mine. Yeah. So.
Yeah, look, put your email address in the chat, coach, in case they missed.
Yep, we'll do.
We'll send the videos to everybody too, so they can they could go back and pause it if they need to see that slide, email and all.
If like you said, because I show guys 2 things. Like I said, what's right, wrong, and indifferent. Here's one of the things that we did at Newton, and this was for coaches. You see, we had loads. Not only for players, you're talking about buy-in, we had it for coaches. And this included me. And our coaching loaf was not being present for the sign test, late, not being in place and ready before the first rep takes place. That's if you didn't have it. If you have a coach like coach, I got an IP meeting that day time. If I don't know if you had, I expect you to be there at 3:30 and it's 3:31. Hey man, that's low. And yeah, you make coaches do push-ups to get a little bit of gases in. I ran some gases myself at the head coach, and I ran to the next station. I know people look at number 4 like, what? That can't be happening. Yeah, it happened. Hey man, you coach don't answer that phone. If it's an emergency, your wife step off the field. I know all those things happen, but don't be taking a call to John Jack with anybody. Do that later. We talk about enthusiasm and energy. You see, I've been big on that, and then staying silent when you see a loaf. I put a tweet out there yesterday from one of the Army generals, and it pretty much said this: if you see a loaf and you don't say anything better about it, that's your standard. If your team sees you see a loaf and you stay silent about it, that becomes your team standard. So if you see somebody loafing, you need to be quiet about it, man. If you want some type of standard. And then the last thing I'll show, coach, and this really has nothing to do with practice per se, but it does to me. This is like, you guys might not be able to see this. This is our game menu, and Coach Correa. One thing I learned from him, spending time with him, was to when I took the time of being head coach, was being organized. And so we get these on Fridays. And as you can see, it's detailed to the minute. And we would hang these up in the locker room. Every coach got this, so it was a practice schedule for Friday. We were going to be detailed to the minutes on everything we did. And then we had little cards that a coach could cut out and take with them. And then we talked about perfect effort. It let every coach in the building, every coach on staff know what he's in charge of, our trainer what he was in charge of, to even hear, this is my AD. You know what he was in charge of. In game, keep paying the admin away. After the game, the AD had to stay the heck away. And then he can call me on Saturday and tell me everything he wanted to tell me, not Friday after the game. So coaches, Coach Herrera taught me this. So be detailed all the way down to Friday, because Friday is basically a game day, but treat it like practice and be detailed in your schedule.
Man, that was awesome. That's first off, that schedule was great and keeping the AD away. But hey, I don't know if Michael's still on there, but Michael need that coach's loaf thing. He'd be loafing his ass off. We need that list. He owes me about 20,000 push-ups.
Coach, I know getting well. Michael was looking at probably saying right now, man, I wish you would try to hold me to those lows.
No, but you know what? I really did like that, because I don't know that I've seen it like that, regardless of how you punish. I mean, coaches going to range from 22 years old to 60 something, and a lot of different body types and all that. But we put it into terms like the kids, these are the 5 or 6 things, don't do. Just like loafing from the kids. That was great. I don't know if I ever seen that. That was great.
Yeah, and it's, the one thing that I learned, and we talked about, Coach, emphasizing what you need, and I've been there as a head coach, and I think you would any of this. My second and third year as a head coach, I won big. And not even win space, but, I beat some pretty good teams and went deep into the playoffs, won a region championship. And as a third year head coach, you know what I'm thinking? I got this figured out, man. I got this whole coaching thing. I told y'all I was a man. I told y'all I was a guru. I got it figured out. And then the following year, not so much. Okay, what happened? And what happened was, it was almost like, well, I think I can take my foot off the pedal because we won. And what made us good was those standards, everybody being accountable. Mm-hmm. But we never defined it. So the kid would say, Coach, well, you can say that this year. So I went back to it and said, all right, how we practice and the things that we do, we're not changing. That's always going to be defined. Here it is. And then it got us back rolling.
Yeah, that's right, Coach. And that's awesome, man. And I like that you've done it at all those different levels too. I hope people heard that piece, because I know we just got so many people that watch this, especially on the replays, that are going to be from all different types of schools. And, but the culture is going to be the same no matter if you got 20 people on the team or 120. So I thought that was really applicable to everybody. But I appreciate you, man.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
a lot. Do a great job.
I appreciate you, Coach.
Yep.